so glad that you can join us. Here today, I have my daughter, Haven.
Hello.
Here, we're going to have a sit down right here in front of you guys. So, as some of you know, she's my youngest daughter out of 9. She's the baby girl to her daddy. And so, I'm glad to have her on here today.
Hi. If you guys don't know, I'm very shy.
She's very shy. So, I am glad that she agreed to come on here. So we're going to try not to get too deep.
Okay. Wow.
But be comfortable because, you know, you're in good company. And people who don't want to know, they could just fast forward. But I do want to talk about moving from Guam to the States and just your transition coming here and how you're feeling about it and the people you left. And so how are you doing throughout this whole process? How has it been for you?
That's such a big topic. It really is, because it's such a long process that our whole family went through.
And still going through.
Yeah. And not only that, it's not just moving from like a state to a state. It's like moving from a culture to a different culture. Wow. So not only that, it's the cultural shock that happens. So it's not just you pack up boxes and you move to a different, you know, state or a different place. It's totally different cultures, and that is the hard part, and what's that's what's more out of the ordinary of our move. Is
what would you say is different? Name some stuff that's different from our culture in Guam, and then coming to the States, because I know there's a lot.
Almost everything. To the environment, to the people, to the food, to the smell, to the sounds, to the music.
Even us getting sick every day. Yeah. People don't know that. We never knew what pollen was.
We had to also adjust and adapt to like our atmosphere. So it was a very big change. But then also like I think mentally is also what was a big change. I think for every move, it's also mentally a big change. But like I mean, like thrown into like depression, you get thrown into like
so do you think
emptiness.
You were depressed?
Oh yeah,
I know I was. I was depressed for a little bit.
I was very depressed because when you move to like from a beautiful island to now stateside scenery, it's very different. Not that like the States is ugly or anything, but it's definitely not a tropical island. That's what's different,
and that's what you were raised in.
Yeah,
is the beautiful coconuts falling from the tree,
where you can walk 5 minutes to the beach somewhere. You know what I mean? That's what's different. Or especially the beaches are different. From Galveston to Mooning Beach, it's very different, and if anything would make you even more depressed, but
we won't go there. But we won't go there.
Yes. And then also,
what about friendships?
It's more friendships, and like the family and people there is like what. Yeah, the people are very different.
Tell us about Chamorro culture, the Guamanian way. Tell us. I know we're very hospitable people.
Yeah, very hospitable people.
Family oriented. What do you miss?
I think what I miss more is relating to people from my island, if that makes sense. Because when I think you and David discussed that here is like, I mean, I'm not trying to bash anything, but family here is not as important as it is in Guam. Family's everything, blood thicker than water, you know what I mean? That type of thing. Here it's a lot more about, I feel so bad because I don't want to make it sound like the States are so superficial, but it's a lot more about status, job status. Did you graduate college? Did you get married? Stuff like that.
And then, and even in here in the States, a thing that they do is, you know, once they're 18, it's like, boom, it's time to get out.
Yeah.
In Guam, you'll find
you'll live with your family forever.
Yeah. I mean, their house is right next door to you, or they're even, them and their family are in the house that you live in.
And
it's very different.
Also not as looked down upon in Guam if you get pregnant and you're not married. If you get pregnant and you haven't even graduated high school yet. It's kind of normal there, if anything, for young girls to get pregnant at a very young age. But here it's very much frowned upon, and it's very much more now your life is a
a wreck
or
ruined.
or ruined, or they kind of pity you more. But where in Guam it's like you're celebrated more, like you're having a baby. And then States is here, it's like, oh, you had a baby. It's very different, you know what I mean? So there's that. I was very depressed when I first moved here. As you know, you catch me crying in my bed sometimes.
I wasn't gonna say.
I know. Yes, you catch me crying in my bed sometimes.
You know, breaks your mom's heart when you see your kids going through that. But
yeah, I couldn't listen to island music for the longest time.
I still think we can't.
And then like the sense of, well, for me, for you guys were also raised in the States here, and then.
Me and David,
yeah, you and David were raised in the States here and Guam, but for me it's like everything what I went through was always in Guam. Anything life-changing or something that built my character better happened in Guam, you know what I mean? Oh my gosh, I don't want to cry. And so I think it felt like leaving something behind. Oh my gosh, I don't want to cry again. I hate doing this. I'm sorry.
It's okay. We have tissue.
Yeah, so it just felt like coming here, it felt, I don't know, starting new. It felt like you guys said, it felt like Guam was such a different lifetime, you know, with a different lifetime.
And I think even for you at that time, you were going through so much already.
Yeah.
I mean, you really did go through a lot. I always say that. Like when Dad and I were very sick, even before David and dang it. What kind of episode is this?
We moved on from that other episode, so we want to cry. You said we weren't going to get into anything too deep.
I said, we're not going to cry. Gosh, this is going to be fun. Well, I do think this is therapeutic. But a lot of people are asking, like, you know, how we're doing right now. And they may think, you know, a lot of people in Guam always think that the States, they're moving to the States, you know, life is better.
Greener there.
The grass is always greener. But I do remember you going through a lot, especially, you know, you were already graduated high school. You already, you know, had your own job, your own life. And then you had both parents who were very sick. I mean, we got really sick with COVID. And before David and Shannon came, I remember I was just very sick, and Dad got very, very sick. And you were pregnant.
Yeah.
And you just came in the room and you're like, I don't care, Mom, because we weren't eating, you know?
Yeah.
Because we didn't want to.
You guys didn't want me to come in the room because if I would get
sick. Because of COVID.
Sick, yeah.
And we couldn't go out because Grandma was in. We didn't want to contaminate Grandma, who is my dad's mom with dementia, and she's bedridden. And so we were so scared. And so Dad and I were literally in the room by ourselves, like thirsty. And you just came in there and you literally started taking care of us, and you're taking care of your grandma, feeding her every day, changing her by yourself every day, feeding your parents, taking care of your brother, cooking for him, all while you were pregnant, going through your own thing. And so you were going through a lot, you know, and then even having to leave, you know. I know that we were all like, we gotta go. Nobody in our family felt like, even though we love Guam and we wanted to stay, no, everybody knew. We just knew it was time. Yeah. So, how do you think you're doing now that you're here in your transition?
I think that despite of everything, and despite how much we could say we miss Guam and how much life was better before, I think we're very blessed. I think we are blessed with a lot of things. And it's hard to even talk about this because we don't want to sound ungrateful. That's the thing. It's not that we're not ungrateful. Yes. We are very much grateful, but it's also like we're still grieving. You know what I mean? We're grieving through stuff that we lost, you know what I mean? Or stuff that we gave up to follow the Lord. And I mean, I think that's okay, because that just means we have something better and bigger in store. You know what I mean?
But we are grieving because we left grandma.
Yeah.
You know, she was a big part of our life. And then we also left your brother and Sue
kids.
and the grandkid, your nieces and nephews and family and church family and Auntie Lou died, you know, like that was another. So I think people here in the States, you know, they think, wow, this family who came, missionaries who came from Guam and held the fort up, you know. Meanwhile, we're trying to keep it together.
Yeah.
We're trying to keep it together, you know. We know that the Lord's not finished.
And even when people ask us in church and stuff, like, how was it? We still sugarcoat a ton.
Yes.
We don't say half of the things.
Because God's good. And we you know,
we don't want to sound grateful, even though it's not that we're ungrateful. That's just the truth. That's what we really went through, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yep.
I think last year was like probably one of the hardest years of my life. I don't know about your guys' life, but it was probably one of the hardest years of my life.
I think
all of us
too, yeah. So what sticks out to you?
What sticks out to me?
Maybe the unknown or just everything you went through?
I think, yeah. But I also think I was always that type of person that did have her life planned out, or was more like what I won't do, what I'm not going to do. And everyone also knew that about me. So whenever I did get pregnant, I think it was a shock for everybody.
And to you too.
Yeah.
Yeah. You were definitely in denial.
Oh yeah. I was really in denial. Even whenever I was having a hard time telling you in the car, and you're like, what is it? And I was crying and I didn't want to tell you, like, what is it? And you're guessing all these things. And she would not guess that I was pregnant. I'm like, can I drop any more hits? Just because I didn't want to say it.
Clue.
And she had no clue. And because that's the last thing you would think of even getting pregnant, you know?
Yeah. And even when you did, we want, I mean, you're an adult, you know, you're 20 years old. We wanted you to tell people when you wanted to, and but we wanted to love you. We wanted you to know that we were there for you, and that even though we all make mistakes, because I've been there, you know, it's what's done is done, you know, and we were just happy for the fact that you chose life. And we did leave it up to you, because I know for you the big thing was the church. What are they going to think? Because you're the last person, like you said, that we would think would get pregnant, because you had a sister who got pregnant, and everybody knew that you were I don't want to say the good one, but you were the sweet one. And so, but we left that up to you. You know, it wasn't our place to tell anybody. And obviously,
and it wasn't like you guys were hiding me, you know what I mean? It was my choice. I was the one that was, and you guys respected that I didn't want nobody to tell anybody. I even went off all social media. I stopped modeling, everything. I just,
yeah. And I think also, you know, because I think there's a misconception that we left the church because of that.
Yeah, there's a big misconception about that.
But we were telling you, when you're ready to tell people, that's you're gonna have to tell them, you know, and we're gonna still support you and be there. And so you just said, let me tell them, and you wanted to wait till you were starting the show, and if people asked you, okay, we respected that, and we allowed you to do that. I only had a handful of people that knew and that were praying for the whole process. And so I do know that, and you can talk more about this, about being a pastor's kid. And, you know, there's so much on being in a fishbowl. Your life is like looked at. And even as parents, you know, why do you let your daughter do this? Wear that? Why do you let your son say that and have those things on his arm? And why do you allow piercings and this and that, you know? And you know, there's always judgment in those kind of situations. But was that a fear of yours, being in the church, of what people would think? Or
oh yeah, because that was my biggest fear, was disappointment. I was disappointed myself. I was scared of disappointment about the people around me, you know what I mean, the church. And like you said, I already had like this reputation of having a good head on my shoulders. You know what I mean? And I think that's one of the things I was scared about was like, I guess just disappointment. Yeah. So
you still have a good head on your shoulders. Just want to let you know that. Especially being able to watch you be a mother. You're an excellent mommy. You're a really good mommy. And I'm very proud of you for that.
Thank you. Try not to cry. I think you said you're happy I chose life, but I think one of the things that I still beat myself up so much for is whenever we were in Safe Haven and it was just me and you, and you know, we took a pregnancy test together and I came out positive. You didn't say anything, and you're very supportive. First of all, I had this whole different scenario in my head. Okay, so I was like scared to death. I was about to get my butt beat, but instead, my mom was you were very supportive and loving, and you just said all the right things because you've been there, you know. But the thing I think I beat myself up still this day, and I don't even know if I could ever, you know, forgive myself, was after we took the pregnancy test. We were in the Safe Haven office and you sat me down and you're like, okay, what do you want to do? And, you know, just out of fear and out of emotions, I said, I want to, you know, give her up for adoption. Sorry. And I beat myself up because I look at Geneva today and I'm just like, how can I ever think that, you know what I mean? Because I love her so much. It hurts that I ever even thought that, you know, that I didn't want her, because I didn't want to get pregnant. I didn't want this pregnancy, and I didn't want to have a baby right now, you know what I mean? And so I think that's what I beat myself up to this day is I look at her, I'm like, I can't believe if I ever, like, you know, would ever want to let this go. You know what I mean? She was such
do you know the words, how powerful they are that you just said? How many girls I wish knew what you just said. They make a permanent decision based on temporary feelings.
Yeah.
Right? There's so many young girls who have gotten pregnant and they didn't want to get pregnant, or maybe they're not so young. Maybe they got 5 kids already and now they're with their 6th, and you know, they're not married or whatever it is. And on those fears, they're gonna do something horrible, you know. And for those who don't know, I'm the founder of Safe Haven Pregnancy Center in Guam, and I'll just tell a little bit of the story of that. Is you know, I was a teenage mother many times over, and when I got pregnant with my daughter Haven, I was going to get an abortion, and I made my appointment, had my appointment ready, got up on that bed, and they wanted to see if the pregnancy was viable, and I accidentally saw the screen and the heartbeat, and I heard the Lord say, "You do not know the plans I have for her." And at that time I knew it was a her, because he said her. And I flew up off that table and I just cried and cried. And I knew, being a teenage mom practically my whole life, that, you know, I shouldn't be having an abortion, but I was in the police academy. I wasn't married again. I mean, it's the story of my life, you know, and I just thought, what am I doing? I can't do it this time. I'm trying to make my life right. Fast forward, the Lord placed it on my heart, after having my baby, you know, Haven, that we were going to open a safe haven, and I am going to educate women, because I would never want anybody in that situation that I was in, that there is help. You know, there is help. This is not your last hope. You know, you may feel like your life is ruined or life is better without a baby, but like you said, you regret that, you know, and I applaud you for not going through with an abortion. I applaud you for keeping your baby, and there's nothing wrong with giving your baby up for adoption, you know. But if girls who got pregnant and didn't know what to do, just know, and you can attest to that once you have that baby, you know, things change.
Yeah.
things can change. And now, you know, when you thought, oh, I can't live anymore, now you got a reason to. Now you got a reason to, you know, want to do better and
push on.
Yeah, to push on. And you see that little baby, your whole life, your whole perspective changes because now you're responsible for this little baby, you know. But I think it's powerful because now, and I remember you saying, because you worked in Safe Haven, you know, for at least a year, answering the phones and the girls who would come in and get counseling. And I remember you looking up saying, now I know why girls want an abortion. And you never knew why. And now I know why people want to give their baby up for adoption.
You wanted me to be trained to be a counselor. And I was like, well, how can I do that if I never been through what they've been through? Like, I feel like I can't be able to relate. And then this happened. So now it's like, well, now I know.
Yeah. And now you can minister to other women who are in that position, right? Your life isn't over.
Yeah.
It's just begun.
Yeah.
Now you got a beautiful baby girl. And boy, is she beautiful. She is very beautiful. She looks like her Nona. Just kidding.
All right.
She looks like her mommy.
Yeah.
Well, see, this episode wasn't that hard.
Oh my
Haven.
goodness.
Thank you for opening up. So how are you doing now?
Now, how I'm doing now is
Because you're still going through your postpartum. I mean, your baby's only 6
5
weeks. 5 weeks.
5 weeks.
Yeah. And I mean, she's already like zipping up her pants and, you know, back in her old clothes. Look great.
I'm doing great. Actually, I found out that I love motherhood. Like watching babysitting my nephews and nieces, I can babysit them, but I love giving them back. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so,
And people don't understand you got 18 of them.
yes.
Right?
And I love all of them. I love watching them. But also, I was always, to me, I was going to be like, I'm just going to be that fun aunt that never had kids till way,
You're the favorite auntie.
way
Everybody knows that.
later.
Yeah.
And then so having people think during your pregnancy is like, now I'm going to have this burden I have to take care of like until it's 18. You know what I mean? But going through even now, even the hardest stage, one of the hardest stages is, which is newborn stage, is like, you know, your sleep is broken now. You had to
Not to mention breastfeeding.
Oh my goodness. They call it the fourth trimester, you know?
Yeah. A lot of women quit after that.
Yeah,
They're like,
they do.
Oh,
A lot
no,
of
we're
women
getting the
quit
formula.
and start going to bottle feeding because
Yeah.
it's just painful. It can be painful. You have you know, just this task to take care of this human being now, you know what I mean? This life. And it can sound scary and it can feel like a burden, like, you know, because you just want to worry about yourself or you just want to worry about me, you know? But going through it, if I find that I love motherhood. Like, it's so much worth it. It's so worth it. And it's, I don't know, it's not that, to me, it's not that bad waking up, you know what I mean? And feeding her in the middle of the night. I just love it. I don't know. You know,
And you're a good
it.
mommy. Like I said, I hear you up there humming, singing to the baby. And that little piggy loves to eat. Poor mommy.
Eats a lot.
Yeah. And how is it for church for you? How has that process been? I know that you were really worried about even coming to church here.
Yes, I even try to hide my pregnancy from church here in Houston,
Even though
Texas.
the senior pastor and the pastor's wife knew
before we even came out.
Yes.
They knew before it even came out, but it's not like their whole leadership knew. It's not like the church knew. It was just them. And I wanted to keep it like that. I wore baggy clothes. Remember, I wore baggy clothes for the longest time until I really started showing. Then I would show it off. But,
Yeah.
I think the same fear, just disappointment or the tension on me, or
Is there anybody who helped with that? Helped you through that process?
anybody help me through it. I mean, you. I don't think you pushed
Anybody
me.
in church that helped you? Like,
Oh yeah. When people found out that I was pregnant, they poured so much love on me. The women of the church, especially the women of the church, which I didn't expect because
it kind of shocked you a little bit.
Yeah, for me, I expect the worst just so I'm prepared. So whenever I don't get what I was already expecting, it's like, oh wow, like, you know, Auntie Yanni and the women of the church, they were so accepting, and they were with open arms with me. I mean, I didn't know even most of them. I didn't know any of them, really. I didn't know any of the women in the church, and they didn't know me, but they didn't have to know me in order to love me. You know what I mean? They just did. They opened their arms to me, and
I think that was a healing process for you, because I remember, you know, because Auntie Yanni's the way she is because she's been in your shoes, you know, and so she was very attracted to you because she knew what you were going through. And the same happens to me when I see a girl, young, pregnant, not married, whatever the case is. I'm attracted to her because I'm like,
what they need.
I know what she's going through. And so that happened with Auntie Yanni, and she just poured her love on you. She sought you out in that church and hugged you every time you were there, and very supportive. Wanted to do a baby shower. And then all of a sudden you decided one Wednesday, bam.
And then everyone asked.
Oh, and you were like 7 months already?
I think I was 7, 8.
8 months pregnant, and she hid it the whole time, and she just one day decided, I mean, is that what you just one day, you know what? I don't care.
Well, it was getting hard to hide.
I
was
felt like
running out of baggy clothes.
But and I remember people were like, oh,
yeah,
she's pregnant.
I remember that one Wednesday walking into church. I remember, I think I told you, I don't know if I told you, but I had a lot of anxiety walking from the car to the church.
When you decided to show?
Yes, when I first decided to wear this tight long sleeve shirt, you know, that hugged my belly, and jeans, and it, because I would wear baggy clothes the whole time, baggy dresses, baggy shirts, and so I was like, after seeing, you know, after filling out the church, after filling out people, after getting the stereotype of this snobby white lady type, you know, looked down upon stereotype out of my head, I finally decided to, like, okay, but still walking from the parking lot to the church doors for the first time, had a lot of anxiety. I was like nervous laughing, and I was nervous smiling, but I was like, I had a lot of anxiety.
I was like, oh, we're gonna do this today.
Because I again, fear, disappointment. And I feel like growing up, I always wanted to be obedient, you know what I mean? I was always
pretty much were.
I it's not like I was forcing myself. I liked being obedient, and so I was just, I think that's just one of my natural fears, is like disappointment of somebody I love, or disappointment of people I look up to. So or like people that look up to me, you know. That's another topic, is what happened with one of my brothers is he was very disappointed in me, and he would tell me he was looking up to me, and that broke my heart. And I think that's where it kind of like triggered, like, I'm so scared to tell anybody now, because that was his first response. And so I think I was just very fearful of, like, judgment, and, like, even though we grew up, like, who cares who judges you, you know what I mean? I was scared of judgment because people already knew me. Well, being pregnant, it's like you wear your sin on your shoulder. You can't hide that, right? You can hide alcohol, drugs. You can hide, for a time, you can hide sleeping around and all that stuff. But when you're pregnant, you can't hide that. Yeah. You know, and so it's unfair, really. But I was proud of you that day when you went. And I think that's why it's... People were staring a lot, too.
Right. Yep. And asking, like, whoa, did you guys know that there was that bump there? But I think that's why also it's important it says something about the church, you know, like because let me just tell you, with one of my pregnancies, you know, I'm sure you guys know the story, but I'll just say it for here, that, you know, I was a teenager, and we were going to this church, and I literally was walking to go into the doors, and the youth center closed the door and said, we can't have you in here. We can't have your kind in here, because other girls are going to think it's okay to get pregnant. And you were still a youth, I was still a youth. And so I would go during service, because my parents would go to the main sanctuary and I would go to youth. And instead of going to youth, I would go sit by the van in the sun and wait an hour and a half until my parents got out. And I would pretend like I went to youth. But I wasn't welcome there. And so that, you know, in my life kind of turned me off of churches. Like, they're all hypocrites. They all talk about God's love and loving one another and forgiving one another, but they can't even, during the time that God got my attention and I wanted to do what was right, and I was so desperate for the Lord to help me, nobody was there. And so I love that this church has allowed you to come, and they've welcomed you. The women have welcomed you with open arms and loved on you. And we all make mistakes in our life, you know. In me, I've made it many times. So hopefully you don't have to go through that, right? But
Yeah.
Like I said, she's got a good head on her shoulders. But I do know that it's important to be in a church where you're allowed to heal and make mistakes and get up and be forgiven, you know. And honestly, I would tell anybody who's not in a church like that to find another church.
Yeah.
If they're not, because it is a hospital for sinners, not a museum for saints. Yeah. You know, that's what the church is. We're supposed to be there for the hurting, and you were definitely hurting. And so I was praying for that, like, Lord, please, you know, surround my daughter with women who are going to love her. And then it was just so beautiful. He did it. We didn't ask for it. Nobody even knew that we were like, or in my heart thinking, you know, if they're going to judge, if they're going to, you know, throw her out or whatever. But they didn't. They welcomed you with open arms, and they loved you and told you that you will be okay, and they did a baby shower for you. And so I just think that's beautiful, and that's how church should be. Yeah. Not to say that it's okay what you did, and we're not saying it's okay to go have sex without being married. We're not saying that. We're saying that when it does happen, when sin does happen, that and there is repentance, because there's a difference, you know, that it's okay to forgive and to love on somebody like that. And so I just wanted to say that about the church that we're attending, that's one thing that has just ministered to my heart and meant a lot to me, and I know it's meant a lot to you. So is there anything else that you have any questions or anything you want to say
for
about?
me during my journey, even though it was still hard, I still had a lot of support, and I had supportive parents and a supportive church, like you said. And it was still hard for me. So I can't imagine it for a person that didn't have that support and that didn't have supportive parents, didn't have a supportive church, like you just said. And if it was hard for me, I can't imagine how hard it is for someone that didn't, you know? Because,
you know, having safe haven, there are plenty girls whose parents literally call them every name in the book, kick them out of the house, you know, look down on them. There's actually mothers who take their daughters to get an abortion. I mean, I'm not trying to like toot my own horn, but I'm saying that I wish families knew, because a lot of times I think people are afraid of what are other people going to think. And like you said, I'm like, I don't care what other people think. You know what I mean? But you're right. People who don't have that support, and I do remember you had a brother who.
Yeah, I was gonna shout him out sooner or later.
And you know that fresh off the bat, what happened with that?
Well, the same day that we were at Safe Haven, and it was closed, so it was just me and her. David came in,
and the same name.
Oh yeah, shout out to David Disbro,
your brother.
I'm sure. Anyway, so me and you already took the pregnancy test. Already, you know, you knew everything happened already, you know what I mean? We already established I was pregnant, and I was just distraught, and I was crying, and I was a big mess. David walks in the building, and I feel like that's such a Lord, though, that the same day David and Shannon come, you know what I mean?
Out of the blue.
And I said, I don't want to tell nobody. Yes. And then they're hearing, like, I think you should tell him. I was like, okay, I think I should tell him too. Because I didn't want to.
Well, he just walked by. He didn't know what was going on.
He didn't know what was going on, but he walked by. And Mom was, you know, she put on a brave face. She was talking to normal. He walked by the room, one of the Safe Haven rooms that I was staying in. And he just saw me sit in the chair. And I guess he just, before he knew anything, he didn't even ask me, you know, are you okay or what's wrong? He didn't say nothing. He just came up to me and he hugged me. And he said, whatever you're going through, just know I love you. And that I'll always love you, and I'm your big brother, and I'll always protect you, you know? So, sorry. Oh, my gosh.
Because he knew something was wrong. He didn't know what it was.
He knew something was wrong, but he had to press me for it. And he didn't have to, like, you know, he just knew I needed a hug, and he knew that I was going through something, and he didn't care what it was. He just wanted me to wanted me to know that he loves me, and that he will protect me, and that he cares for me, and that he said something like, nothing about you would change my love for you, you know. And it was just something I needed to hear, because after somebody else's reaction, his reaction was just like fresh water, you know what I mean? It was just so healing, and he probably doesn't even know like
how that affected you.
Yeah, to the extent, you know. So yeah, I love you, David.
He's over there crying.
Yeah.
So probably the question everybody wants to know is, how did you tell your dad?
I didn't. I couldn't even say it.
You couldn't.
I didn't even look him in the eyes.
Because you're his baby girl.
Yeah. Oh boy.
Yeah. And well, let me line this up. First of all, at Safe Haven, we had a phone call. Somebody was going to come drop their baby. Because, you know, we don't want people dropping their babies in dumpsters or anything like that. So we had an incident where somebody wanted to come drop their baby, and leave their baby. And so, Dad and I we knew that a couple days before, and, you know, we had got the phone call that, you know, she was going to give birth and that she wanted to drop the baby. And we were telling her that there's a procedure that has to happen to ensure that the baby's safe, and that she wouldn't be charged with abandonment and all that stuff. So we were just going through that whole thing. So when I called your dad and said, I need you to come to Safe Haven ASAP, he was thinking, oh no, they dropped the baby. And so when he came in and he said, where's the baby? I was like, he knows. The Holy Spirit told him.
Talking about miscommunication. Wow.
I know, and I was so scared. I was like, what baby? What baby? What baby are you talking about? And then you go, Mom, you told him. And I said, I didn't tell him anything. And then he was like, what? What are you talking about? So there was a little bit of confusion when Dad first came, but he knew he needed to come. And then he came in, and for those of you who don't know, Haven is his baby girl. And she could never do wrong.
Be quiet.
Never. She would never. Even if she yelled at her mom, she would never yell at her mom. Even if I said, Haven didn't clean her room. Oh, I'm sure she didn't mean not to clean her room. Yeah, no matter what it is, Haven would never do.
Whatever.
But, so when he came in, you know, I wanted you, because you did tell me, I don't want you to tell anybody, but I did say, I have to tell your dad.
Yeah.
That's one thing I did say. I'm not going to keep that from your dad, and you're going to need all the support you were going to need.
And I started breaking down crying again. I was like, no.
Yeah. And so when Dad came in, what were you thinking? First of all, he was so loving. I mean, when he came in, he was just so like, where's the baby? We're like, yeah, in there.
Wow. That's how we told him. Sure. No. Yeah. Man, I don't know. It's a different feeling to like disappoint your father, who still looks as you as a baby. Yes. You know what I mean?
I mean, even every picture he has of you, you're a baby.
He still
chubby
looks
little baby
as a baby. So it was very hard. I couldn't even look him in the eye. Remember?
Yeah.
I couldn't even look him in the eye, and then I looked at you. I'm like, I can't tell him. And then you end up telling him, and he, you know, he just looked at me, and he was so sad and started crying. But he hugged me, and, you know, even though I'm sure it's not what he wanted for me, it didn't mean that he hated me, or he was so disappointed in me that he resented me. You know, he still loved on me, and he still hugged me, and yeah, we just all cried together. It was such a cry day.
And I think he went into dad mode, like, where is he?
Oh, yeah.
And we were like,
oh, yeah.
Please don't kill anybody. You're a pastor.
It was consent.
Oh, yeah. So, no, Dad kept saying, baby girl, tell me the truth. Did he rape you? And you were like, no, Dad, no. Baby girl, tell me the truth. Did he hurt you?
No.
Did he force you? And he wanted you to say yes. He wanted for his vengeance to be
justified.
Okay, yeah. Justified. And finally, I mean, he kept asking. You were like, no. And I said, she was willing.
She did it.
She wanted to. And he was like, and it looked like somebody slapped him.
Like he'd rather be here if we get raped than
I know. I'm like, God. See, I told you he's in denial about
Yeah.
his baby girl. I
Yeah.
just like, yes, she did. She wanted to.
Wow. Okay. Mom was like so happy to say that for some reason. Nope, no, she wanted to.
Don't even let her get by this one. Oh no. No, but I think being part of Safe Haven and us counseling a lot of girls, you know, on that, it prepared his heart, obviously. Prepared both of us to be able to love on you and be like, it's okay. And I'll just tell you, that's when we wanted to do a tight 360 circled around our daughter and say, you know, you're going to have to get through us to even dent her. And so we got in protective mode and wanted what was best for you, you know, at that time. And so.
And your guys' support and love was even not like you guys are bad parents, but it's not what I was expecting.
Which kind of shocks me.
I know. But beforehand, I talked to somebody else and they're like,
oh.
No, before they're like, you're going to get your butt beat. And whenever they kick you out, I have a place for you to stay. You can do this and this and that. And just know, be prepared for like the worst, you know? So I was like, oh man. So when I was, you know, that's why I was so hysterical. When I told you, I was like, man, I'm so sorry. Before I even told you, I was like, I'm so sorry, you know?
But I could tell though, even during the time that you want to tell me, do you remember where we were? We were at a conference.
We were at a
women's conference.
A women's conference.
And one of my close friends was teaching, and all she said was, "For I know the plans I have for you," says the Lord.
That's what she opened up with.
She opened up with that, and we say that at Safe Haven all the time, that I was knitted in your room, and there's a purpose for you, and a purpose for your baby, and you were wanted, and all of a sudden you started sobbing, and you're like, "Mom, we gotta go," and I'm like, what is she saying that's so powerful?
I said, do you have to, because you had something afterwards. I was like, do you have to go to that baby shower? Because I need to talk to you. And, you know, we took a long drive down to Safe Haven.
No, I just so happened to go to Safe Haven.
She so happened had to go to Safe Haven after the conference where the pregnancy test is at and everything, you know. Everything worked.
But I think the Holy Spirit was already convicting you in your heart.
Oh, yeah.
Because you were very broken over that. And so I was like, what is going on? And literally when you were crying, the only thing I could think of was because you were already broken up for a couple months with your boyfriend. And I just thought, maybe she don't want to tell me that they're back together. I don't know. I had no idea. Maybe she's on drugs. I mean, I just, because you were broken up for a couple months, I just had no idea. You know, and I knew that you had your period. So just want to let you know that sometimes you could be pregnant and have your period. But so I just knew that wasn't it. And that's why it never came to my mind. So when it was that, I thought, oh no, we're going to do a pregnancy test and see. But I just remember.
I said, I took a pregnancy test. And you took a deep breath in. You're like, because we're driving to Safe Haven. And you're like, okay. And what did it say? And I said, it said it was positive, but the thing was expired, so I don't know if it's accurate. I could be pregnant. I couldn't be. Like, I was like so like in denial still. And you're like, okay, well, we're heading to Safe Haven already. Let's take a pregnancy test there. And so we took. And who knew that this center that you opened up, Safe Haven, was gonna be also used. You're gonna use it for your daughter as well, like a safe place for your daughter.
And my
you know
granddaughter.
What I mean?
A little safe haven for my granddaughter.
Yeah. I mean, like, you know, who knew you could be serving your daughter there, you know what I mean?
And that's the reason why it was called Safe Haven, was after you. Haven.
Oh.
Yeah. So that has a very special place in our heart, right? Well, this has been fun.
Well, now to close it off. I'm joking.
Now that everybody knows, because we get a lot of questions about Haven and her pregnancy and what happened and all of that, maybe this will clear up some answers. And I don't know that it's been a healing process, and
Still is.
it still is.
Yeah.
But Geneva Kai is the joy of my heart, and I love waking up to her little chunkiness
Every morning.
every morning. She's, you know, so happy to see her, Nona and Papa, and we're happy to have her. And I know the Lord has great plans for you, future and a hope. And I'm just so glad that you chose life. And now you have your own testimony to that. And now you can minister to other girls who may be fearful when they're pregnant, you know, or in sin or whatever it could be. You have that wisdom now with you, you know, and the Lord can use you in different women's lives too. So Thank you for coming on and being so transparent, because I know how hard it is for you.
It is. Thank you for having me.
Love you.
Love you too.
Thank you, guys.